On a sun-beaten brick wall in a forgotten alley, a masterpiece is born. With the hiss of a spray can and the deliberate stroke of a brush, an artist pours their soul onto the urban canvas. This is street art, the raw, unfiltered pulse of a city. It's a political statement, a cultural landmark, a memorial, a splash of vibrant defiance against a monochrome world. It speaks for the voiceless, challenges the powerful, and beautifies the neglected. It's one of the most immediate and democratic art forms in human history, accessible to everyone who walks by. But this incredible power is also its greatest weakness. Street art, by its very nature, is designed to die. It is the definition of ephemeral. A stunning, complex street art mural is shown in a time-lapse, from its creation to its eventual decay. Its existence is a fleeting moment, a temporary conversation with the public, and the forces that seek to erase it are relentless, working around the clock. The most obvious enemy is nature itself. The sun, a source of life, becomes a merciless bleach, leaching the brilliant pigments from the paint, turning vibrant reds into pale pinks and deep blues into hazy grays. Rain washes down walls, carrying pollutants that stain and erode the artwork, creating ghostly streaks where bold lines once stood. Wind and temperature shifts cause the underlying surfaces, brick, concrete, stucco, to expand and contract, crack and crumble, taking the art with them. An extreme close-up shot shows paint cracking and peeling off a concrete wall, a slow-motion destruction that happens every single second. This is the art form's built-in obsolescence, a natural life cycle that many artists even embrace as part of the medium's philosophy. But what happens when that cycle is violently cut short? This is where the human element comes in, and it is often far more brutal and swift than the slow work of time. Consider the relentless march of urban development. A wall that hosted an iconic mural for a decade can be reduced to a pile of rubble in a single afternoon to make way for a new luxury apartment complex or a parking garage. The infamous case of 5 Points in Queens, New York, is a perfect, heartbreaking example. Once known as the United Nations of graffiti, it was a sprawling industrial complex, covered inside and out with thousands of works by artists from around the globe. It was a living museum, a cultural pilgrimage site. Then, overnight in 2013, the owner had the entire building whitewashed, erasing a massive chapter of graffiti history before the bulldozers moved in to demolish it completely. Archival footage or photos of the iconic 5 Points building, first vibrant with art, then stark white, then a demolition site. An entire ecosystem of art gone. This story repeats itself in cities worldwide, a constant battle between cultural value and commercial real estate. Then there's the official institutional removal. Municipal graffiti abatement teams, armed with pressure washers and beige paint, often make no distinction between mindless tagging and legitimate world-class art. To them, it's all vandalism. A Banksy piece, potentially worth millions and carrying a potent political message, can be unceremoniously scrubbed from a wall by a city worker simply following a protocol. This isn't just cleaning, it's a form of censorship, erasing voices that challenge the status quo. The art is often created in a gray area of legality, and its destruction is carried out with the full force of the law. The artist has little to no recourse. The work is simply gone, its message silenced, its image surviving only in the scattered Instagram photos of those lucky enough to have seen it. This constant, multi-front war against street art creates a profound sense of urgency. We are losing a vital part of our modern cultural heritage. These murals are not just decorations, they are historical documents. They capture the social and political climate of a specific time and place. They are the visual record of protest movements, of community pride, of collective grief and joy. When a piece by Keith Haring is lost, we lose a tangible link to the AIDS crisis of the 80s. When a mural commemorating a local hero is painted over, a piece of that community's identity is erased. We wouldn't stand by and watch as historical manuscripts were shredded or ancient sculptures were ground to dust. Yet, we watch this happen to the masterpieces of our own time every single day. The central, desperate question then becomes, how do we fight back? How do we preserve an art form whose very essence is tied to its impermanence? If we can't save the physical wall, can we somehow save the art itself? What if we could build a lifeboat for these drowning masterpieces? The answer, it turns out, isn't found in more durable paint or protective coatings. It's found in a revolutionary fusion of light, data, and computation. A new generation of digital archivists is stepping into the breach, armed with technologies that can see the world in ways we can't, capturing not just a picture of the art, but its very soul. So, how do you capture a ghost? How do you immortalize something that is actively disappearing before your eyes? The answer lies in moving beyond the flat, two-dimensional world of photography and into the realm of the digital twin. We're talking about creating a perfect one-to-one virtual replica of an artwork, so detailed that you can see the texture of the brick beneath the paint and the subtle layering of spray paint colors. This is the world of 3D scanning and photogrammetry, the cutting-edge tools being deployed by a new wave of cultural preservationists. Let's break down exactly how this digital magic works. The first major technology in the arsenal is LiDAR, which stands for Light Detection and Ranging. If you've ever seen a self-driving car, you've seen LiDAR in action. In essence, a LiDAR scanner mounted on a tripod emits millions of tiny, pulsating laser beams across a surface. The device measures the precise time it takes for each of those laser points to bounce off the object and return to the sensor. By doing this millions of times per second, it calculates an incredibly accurate distance for each point. The result of this process isn't a picture, it's a point cloud. Imagine a perfect, ghostly 3D sculpture of the mural and the wall it's on, made of millions upon millions of individual dots. The camera flies through a dense, glowing 3D point cloud of a city street and a mural. This point cloud captures the macro geometry with sub-millimeter precision. It records the deep crevices of the mortar between bricks, the subtle bowing of an old wall, the exact shape of a window frame the artist had to work around. It is the foundational skeleton of our digital twin, providing a perfect spatial map. Another similar method is structured light scanning. Instead of a laser point, a projector throws a known pattern of light, like a grid or a series of stripes, onto the artwork. A camera then watches how that pattern deforms across the object's surface. A straight line will curve over a bump or break across a crack. Sophisticated algorithms analyze these deformations to calculate the 3D shape with astonishing detail. This method is fantastic for capturing finer surface textures, but is often used for smaller-scale objects than a massive building facade. But geometry is only half the story. A colorless 3D model, no matter how accurate, lacks the life and soul of the original piece. This is where photogrammetry comes in, and it's what breathes life into the digital skeleton. The concept is surprisingly simple, but the execution is incredibly complex. A preservationist will take hundreds, sometimes thousands of high-resolution digital photographs of the artwork. A montage shows a person meticulously taking photos of a mural from every possible angle, from the left, the right, up close, far away, from above with a drone, from below on the ground. The key is massive overlap between the photos. This massive dataset of images is then fed into powerful software. The software acts like a detective, identifying thousands of common pixels across multiple images: the corner of a character's eye, a specific paint drip, a unique crack in the wall. By triangulating the position of these common points from the different camera angles, it can build its own 3D point cloud. The real magic happens when you combine these techniques. You use the hyper-accurate geometric data from a LiDAR scan as the base, and then you use the photogrammetry data to drape a photorealistic high-resolution texture map over it. The software stitches the thousands of photos into one giant, seamless skin that wraps perfectly onto the 3D model. The result is breathtaking. A wireframe 3D model of a mural smoothly transitions into a fully textured photorealistic digital replica. You have a perfect digital copy that is not only geometrically identical to the original, but also visually indistinguishable. You can zoom in and see the canvas-like texture of the spray paint, the subtle glossy reflection of a varnish, the way the paint bled into the porous brick. Of course, this process is fraught with challenges. The team on the ground is in a constant race against time and the elements. The sun is a major problem. As it moves across the sky, it changes the lighting and casts new shadows, which can confuse the photogrammetry software. A windy day can shake the camera or drone, resulting in blurry source images. And physical access can be a nightmare. The mural might be on the side of a busy highway, in a dangerous neighborhood, or 20 stories up the side of a building, requiring specialized climbing gear or expensive lifts. The sheer amount of data is another hurdle. A single project can generate terabytes of information that requires immense computing power to process, sometimes taking weeks of continuous rendering on powerful server farms. But despite these obstacles, pioneering groups are succeeding, building a new kind of library for an art form that was never meant to have one. They have captured the data, they have the digital twin, but the mission isn't over. The next step is to ensure this data doesn't just sit on a hard drive, but becomes a living archive for the world. Creating a perfect digital twin is an incredible technical achievement, but it's only the beginning of the journey. A raw 3D file locked away on a server is like a book that's never opened. The true revolution lies in what happens next, the creation of robust, accessible, and meaningful digital archives that transform these files into a living legacy. The first step in this process is data curation. The raw point clouds and meshes from the field are often messy, containing digital noise from passing cars, trees, or other environmental interference. A 3D artist on a computer screen is shown cleaning up a raw 3D scan, meticulously sculpting the data to isolate the artwork and its immediate context. The high-resolution textures are color-corrected to match the real-world lighting conditions, ensuring the digital representation is as faithful as humanly and technologically possible. Once the model is pristine, it's enriched with metadata. This is arguably as important as the visual data itself. Archivists attach crucial information to the file: the artist's name or pseudonym, the date of creation and the date of scanning, the exact GPS coordinates, and a detailed description of the work's social and historical context. Was this mural a protest piece created during a specific political event? Was it a memorial to a beloved community member? Capturing this story is essential because it provides the why behind the what. Without this context, future generations would see a beautiful image, but they would miss its soul. These curated, data-rich models then become the building blocks of new kinds of institutions. We're seeing the rise of online platforms like Sketchfab and dedicated digital heritage projects like Google Arts and Culture or the nonprofit SciArc, which act as virtual museums for this lost art. They are creating global repositories where anyone with an internet connection can explore these masterpieces. This accessibility unlocks a future of art interaction that was previously science fiction. The most exciting frontier is immersive experience through virtual and augmented reality. Imagine putting on a VR headset and not just seeing a picture of 5 Points, but walking through a fully realized digital recreation of the 5 Points complex, as it was the day before it was destroyed. You could walk its halls, look up at the towering walls of art, and experience the scale and atmosphere of a place that no longer physically exists. This isn't just viewing art, it's resurrecting a place. Augmented reality offers another powerful tool. You could visit a gentrified neighborhood, point your smartphone at a blank beige wall, and your screen would reveal a ghost image of the vibrant mural that graced that wall 5 years ago, a digital echo of a lost community voice. These archives are also invaluable for education. An art history student can now do more than look at a photo in a textbook. They can load a 3D model and examine the artwork from any angle, zoom in on the specific layering techniques used by the artist, and even use digital tools to analyze the chemical composition of the paint if that data was captured. It allows for a level of forensic analysis and appreciation that is impossible even when standing in front of the real thing. However, this new digital world is not without its ethical minefields. The most pressing question is one of ownership and copyright. Street art often exists in a legal gray area. If an artist creates an unsanctioned piece on private property, who owns the rights to its digital twin? The artist who created it? The property owner? The preservationist who scanned it? These are complex legal and moral questions that are still being debated. Furthermore, there is the philosophical question of authenticity and intent. Many street artists embrace the ephemeral nature of their work. They want it to live, breathe, and die with the city. Does creating a permanent digital copy violate that artistic intent? Is it sanitizing an art form that is meant to be raw and temporary? There is a real debate about whether the digital twin is a true preservation or simply a sterile echo of a living piece. To address some of these issues of ownership and verification, some are looking to blockchain technology. By minting a digital scan as a non-fungible token, one could create a verifiable public record of authenticity. This could provide a way for the original artist to retain ownership of the official digital version of their work and even to profit from it, creating a new economic model for an art form that has historically been unmonetizable. Ultimately, these technologies are not a replacement for the visceral experience of discovering a piece of art on the street. But that is not their goal. They are a safety net. They are an insurance policy for our collective cultural memory. They ensure that even when the paint fades, the walls crumble, and the cities change, the vibrant, defiant, and beautiful voice of the streets will not be silenced. The art may disappear, but its story, its impact, and its legacy are now being saved, one laser pulse at a time, for all the generations yet to come.